Hello and welcome back to the Hurling Debate here on Balls.ie in association with Centra, who are the sponsors of the GAA All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. Every week we talk about the hot topics in GAA. My name is Shane Stapleton, and with me this week it's an absolute pleasure to welcome the man, the monster, the social media myth of GAA, of hurling in particular, Buff Egan. How are you doing, Buff? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, yeah.
Delighted to have you on here. We'll just start off with, for those who don't know you, you have a massive online following. You're huge on Snapchat, you're huge on Twitter, huge on Instagram even, and even a little bit on Twitter. How many followers do you actually have at the moment?
Well, I suppose I started off on Facebook. I'd say it was back, the hurling. I did a local page first, and then a lot of interest was coming from that, and people were saying you should up it a bit. So then I developed the hurling banter page, and that steadily grew over the years, and it's now sitting at I think last I checked 98,000. But so basically I kept updating in the matches, going to the matches, and there was a big following. But I think it's since even the start of the year, since I went onto Snapchat, I think it has really skyrocketed. Yeah.
So how has it changed your life? I mean, you seem to not be able to go anywhere without being absolutely surrounded by people.
Oh yeah, it's definitely changed my life. There's very few places in the country now I can't go without being known, and that's nice. 99% of it is positive, and there'll be 1% negative, but the positive definitely outweighs the negative, and that will drive you on.
Yeah, so you have a massive passion for hurling. Is that why you do it, just because you love hurling and this thing just kind of grew organically as you went along?
Well, my main aim starting off was just to update people in hurling, for people who say they're over in Australia or Dubai that had no way of finding out about the matches, and they were saying, geez, only for you, we'd know nothing. So that was my main aim to start, but it's kind of grown to a different level now, so it's you just have to keep following it, and because it's basically taken over everything, as you said.
Has it? It's taken over your life at this point, has it?
Well, it has, but maybe not in a bad way. It's good, what I get great satisfaction out there last week, I met Austin Gleeson. He was a massive follow of the page, and just to be, for the likes of him, say I love your page, that'll give you great satisfaction. It's humbling. DJ Carey even wrote up on Facebook there about a year and a half ago how he was a massive follower of the page, and DJ Carey is one of the greatest of all time. When you're a hurling blogger and DJ Carey is praising you, that's like God Almighty praising you. And Ken McGrath as well there last week, Shane McGrath, Shane Stapleton, all these guys. So yeah, even the Kerry footballers now, you wouldn't associate the Kerry footballers with hurling, and I've a kind of a thing there, it's capiche, and the Kerry footballers are doing it. So Barry John Keane is a big follower down me there, Stephen O'Brien, these guys. So it's great, to cross all divides. When you've county footballers now following the page. Yeah. So,
talk to us about the public, how the public have taken you to their hearts. Because even at the Munster Hurling final, there was a huge yellow sign with Buff 3:7. There was people chanting your. I heard many people anecdotally say that your phrases are being used absolutely everywhere. Can you talk to us about how you even feel about that?
Yeah, actually, the sign. I had no idea the sign until I was in Kilkenny actually that morning, that match, and a fella from Clare messaged me that they had the sign, and it was my aim to meet him, but unfortunately I was late with traffic and whatnot, so didn't get to meet him. But yeah, hopefully, look, that sign maybe it'll fly a few more times before the summer's over, and I'd be hopeful maybe it'll be flying in Hill 16.
Yeah, well, and you have you're now a social media kind of giant in Irish terms. What Kim Kardashian is in America, you are now to hurling in Ireland. Does it surprise you how big it's got, and how do you feel about it, the fact that you are now known across the hurling country anyway?
Well, I think my main calling card is the Snapchat especially. I cover games that the mainstream media will not cover, like a Kerry Hurling Championship, the Antrim Hurling Championship. I mean, down here in the south, it's very rare that we'll say hurlers in Antrim get any coverage, because I'm following with hurling with years, and I don't think I've ever seen the Antrim Senior Hurling Championship semi-final get a mention. I've gone up to the final there now the last couple of years, and it's great to give them exposure, because actually my biggest following is in Antrim, and that's a massive hurling county. I mean, look at the clubs there: Lochiel, Dunloy, Ballycastle, Cushendall. Any one of them clubs could come down and beat the Kilkenny champions, and you'd wonder why they can't perform at county level, but there's massive passion up there. And I covered minor hurling championship there a couple of weeks ago in Munster, 2 games, and they were covered by basically no mainstream TVs or whatnot, and there was people messaging me from Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Australia saying, thanks so much for updates, we would know anything about it. I saw my neighbour up at the game and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of, and my biggest audience is the youth. I feel that the mainstream media, especially the GAA, they don't have an appeal with the younger audience. I mean, my main thing at the moment is the younger audience. They're huge into the page. I kind of bring a bit of crack to it, and I don't think the GAA are connecting with the younger audience. And as well, it isn't just the younger audience, because I often have grandparents come up to me. Like I was last weekend, 4 or 5 different grandparents came up to me and said, "Can I get a selfie with you, Buff? My granddaughter, my grandson is always showing me up on the internet there. I'm going to show it to them." So it's great that you can appeal to a boy and girl of 7 or 8, 9 or 10, and a grandmother 70 or 80 years of age, because that's a huge demographic. And because a lot of bloggers will say they have a set audience: females 10 to 20, males 30 to 40. But my audience, while it's predominantly youth, but it goes across the board to over 60s, over 70s, and that's great.
Yeah, I think basically a question that everyone wants to know about out there is, what's your hurling background, and what were you like? What position did you play? How much did you play?
Yeah, I played hurling basically all my life. I was out and out wing forward, even though I started corner back.
Did you?
Yeah, I was.
They needed a few scores though.
Yeah, it was actually a kind of in football terms, I'd be like a Mark O'Shea corner back, but no, I was drifted up to the forwards, wing forward, and I'd be very fast. No, I wouldn't be a more skillful player, but I was free taker and wing forward, and I loved hurling. Would be about junior standard at best. Yeah. But junior hurlers have to survive too, I suppose.
And when did you last hurl? Have you a couple of more years in you?
I don't know. We'll see. We never know. But at the minute, I hurt my knee, so that's kind of why I got into the Facebook and Snapchat, because I couldn't hurl and I needed to keep my passion going. And what's the next best thing if you can't play? Because I was obsessed when I played. I was training morning, noon and night, and I was a free taker. I could take every night. I'd go away. I'd be on the field for 3 hours. I'd have about 12 slitters. I'd puck them into the goal, go in and collect them, bring them out. I'd train like a dog, and I was unbelievable and I wasn't playing at a high level, but I was obsessed by it. Everywhere I go home, I say, well, if we're playing now on Saturday night, how am I going to perform? And if I didn't perform, it would nag at me, and I was obsessed by hurling. So when that was taken away from me, I was saying, Jesus, what can fill the gap? And what filled the gap was reporting hurling and keeping people informed, because look, to me that was the next best thing. And now even I miss the hurling a lot, but I don't think I'd survive it all only for the Facebook and the Snapchat. It kept me involved in hurling, and so that's basically it.
So who would be your hurling influences, like growing up? Who inspired you?
Well, obviously my earliest memories of hurling was watching Clare. Brian Lohan to me was like God Almighty. He was, to be honest, the greatest man that ever lived. I was obsessed by Lohan. He was come tearing out there with that red helmet. He'd knock a few fellas' belts to the shoulders, and the roar like from the crowd. When he cleared that ball. I've never seen anything before or anything like it since. It was the whole Clare would come alive. Other fellas in that team, Davy Fitz, of course. I've been a lifelong fan of his. Colin Lynch, midfielder. What a warrior he was, and James O'Connor, Dale, all those fellas. They were like gods to me. They weren't players like. I met Brian Lohan there, for instance, down in Cracklow there about 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't believe it. Like, just to meet him, and he was actually aware of me. And if he was said to me when I was young, Brian Lohan would know you, I'd say, you're a madman.
So what's your earliest hurling memory?
Watching, I think, Clare on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
the team of '95, or.
Yeah, I think dinner around that era. I was very small now, but it just dawned on me, like, from then on I followed them religiously. Yeah, so it just cleared because they took the country by storm, you just fell in love with them? Yeah, no, well they did, but Clare went through many barren years as well, like from, say 97 on, Clare were in the doldrums, basically they were in the doldrums, you could say, until 2013. It was always massive passion for Clare. And, with my Kerry background as well, I'm a huge fan of the Kerry hurlers, and the Kerry hurlers now wouldn't be a glamour side by any means. Even down in Kerry, they don't get a whole pile of support, but you know, I've gone to hundreds upon hundreds of Kerry hurling games. You know,
you've followed them all around the country, haven't you? Like games up that would be seen as unfashionable, where maybe 20 people would show up, and maybe Roscommon or wherever it is. No offence to Roscommon, obviously, but you would go to a game anywhere really to follow them at one point.
Oh, like I'd know all the Kerry hurlers personally, like Shane Nolan there, the Boyles, Mikey Boyle, Martin Stackpool. I'd be very good friends with them, and you know, something about the Kerry hurlers, you know, they're kind of, they're lads you go for a pint with, they're kind of characters, and you know, I think they're different to the Kerry footballers in a sense. You know, they're more, I think there's more devilment in them, but I think there's great characters in them.
It seems like that appeals to you, because there was devilment in that Clare team as well of the 90s. They were well able to get stuck in and leave their mark on teams and get physical when they needed it too. Yeah,
especially 98, you know, Colin Lynch.
The long hot summer.
I think, you know, Clare were given, you know, no fair play in that. Like, I think that was an All-Ireland Clare would have won. You know, Offaly won it after, and you know, I think Clare were a better team than Offaly. Yeah. And it's annoying, you know. 96 as well, they lost by points to Limerick, so Clare could realistically have won 4 in a row. And I know maybe they were lucky maybe to win 95.
And 2013.
But I don't think so.
I'm only. You also have an interest, like hurling wouldn't be your only sport and background. Growing up as well, you were into running.
Oh yeah, my father was actually a champion runner. He actually ran for Ireland, John Egan. No, I remember when I was huge into running. Took a bit
cross
of a break.
Country, was it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be as good now on the road, but my best probably year was winning the county novice and the county intermediate title in running, and I was trained. She's up to, I'd say, you're talking about 80-90 miles a week. But like, you couldn't do hurling and running the same year, because let's say you were doing running now and you do 12 miles a night. So if you were playing hurling and you were doing that kind of training, you'd be too slow for the hurling, because you're fast dart of the speed of go. So can you imagine if you were wing forward and you were doing 12 miles a night? And I actually did it one time, and I couldn't move. I was the slowest man in the field, even though I was running 12 miles. People were saying, "Buff, you're useless. Can you even move?" And I was running 12, but that kind of training is no good for hurling, where you need dart. So when I was doing the hurling, it was just all hurling, and the running was running. My training for basically hurling was, I'd run 2 miles and I'd do sprints, and I found that to be very good training, because you had distance in the 2 miles and you do your sprints with the sprints. So that, but I probably was a better runner, to be honest with you.
What's your favourite sporting memory from your own playing days or your own running days?
Actually, I came. Now this mightn't seem a huge one, but when I had come back running, I remember I was running in Skibbereen, and I came 7th in a Munster under 23 cross country race, and there was some big time marquee men running that, and I beat him, and it was unheard of. Like, I was going there as an upstart, and I remember I ran barefoot because it was a very wet day, and there was guys that would normally destroy me, and everyone thought they'd destroy me, and I finished 7th, and that was a huge achievement, because I was beating guys that normally would destroy me. So even though I finished 7th, but 7th in a big race like that was huge for me.
And why did you go barefoot?
Well, I saw I was kind of running barefoot. I felt you'd run faster.
Really, yeah? And
yeah.
do you think...
I felt the spikes would hold you back.
Really?
Yeah, no, I never ran with spikes. It was barefoot.
And it seems to me that whether you're talking about the way you practice your frees, doing 12 miles a night running, and even just how often you update your Snapchat, that you're fanatical about doing things. Is that the type of person you are? Yeah,
I wouldn't do things by half. Like, you know, if I had a Mitch, like for instance, there now today, there was lightning in the house, and we'd no broadband, we'd know nothing. And it was like a guy trying to go off the cigarettes. It was like a guy cold turkey. You know, how am I going to update? There could be what knows is happening in the hurling world, and such a man could retire, and I'm here, I know nothing. So yeah, it's like a drug really. Like, if I go off, like, even if I was away at a family vid now, I'd have to get the phone out. Something could be after happening. I need to check it the whole time. So it's like an obsession, but it's a good obsession. Like, some people are obsessed with things, you know, bad things. And in fairness, you could be obsessed by a lot of things worse than hurling. Like,
yeah. What's the strangest thing that anyone has told you about how they follow your page? I mean, I would have heard it a lot in the dressing room, and it was for a couple of weeks I heard people talking about buff and all this kind of stuff, and then eventually I kind of followed it, and I've been following it for a year, and I think that's a story that's throughout the country. Like, have you had any unusual incidences where people have approached you?
Well, people approach me all the time, but yeah, it's just people come up. Actually, they'd say they'd love your page and they'd act like, you know, they adore you, and that'd fill you with great pride. You know, they'd say, I can't believe. They'd be saying to me, I cannot believe I meet you, and I'd be saying to myself, like, what? I'm only Buff Egan. I'm the same as you. Like, to be like me meeting Brian Lohan or one of those guys, you know. So I can well imagine. Like, I remember when I was young, I met one or two players, and I won't name them, but I remember they didn't give me the time of day. I went up to them and I says, I was half nervous to see when they talked to me, and they said, go away, don't be behind me. So
really,
I don't want to be now the guy that comes up to me and says to them, go away and don't be behind me. So instead I'll say to them, how are you, where are you from yourself? I mean, because I've been at the other end of the scale where even recently I met someone, they were a blogger, and I said to them, are you a blogger? I recognise your voice. And they kind of completely, this was within two weeks ago, and they didn't know who I was at all. You know, they had no idea who I was. And I just knew their voice, how you'd know a voice from the radio or whatnot, or Snapchat. And I says, are you a blogger? And he goes, I am, yeah. What you want that for? And he says to the person he was with, now we can continue our conversation. And it was like completely cold. And I was saying to him, I must never be like him. I must never, you know, be that ignorant that you wouldn't give someone the time of day. But I bet if he probably knew who I was, he'd be saying to him, all right, Buff, yeah, it's yourself. Jesus, you might give me a mention there on Snapchat. But the fact he didn't have a clue who I was, but that was fake. He only wanted to know people in his own circle. But I bet you if he'd known who I was, he'd be all about me.
You've probably, like, from following your Snapchat, you've had a lot of positive experiences. I know you lost your wallet one day. Actually, did you ever get your wallet back?
I did, yeah. I actually got it back. There was a guy from Kenmare in Kerry that found it, and he got it back to me, yes. But I cancelled the cards, but there was cards in it that I would never have got. So, yeah, thanks for him for that.
So that just shows that there's sort of kindnesses out there.
Oh yeah, for even that day now, like I had a penny in my pocket. That game was actually on in Portlaoise, but whatever foolishness, I missed the stop. So I ended up in Dublin, and I said I'll get the train down. But next time I put my hand in my pocket to get the wallet. There was no wallet, so I got the train down, and I met a girl got on to me. She's a fan of my page. She's actually from Errol in County Laois. She got me something to eat. She paid for me going in, and you know, the rake people came up to me that day and said, "Are you all right for a train home?" You know, that was the first that I saw massive appreciation. They were saying, "Are you sure? Do you want to stay the night?" And that's fantastic. You know, that you mean that to people, like, because for them, like, I could be a randomer, but no, like, I'm not random because they're seeing you up in the. It's just like you're one of the family now at this stage.
Are there any other incidences of kindness that kind of stand out to you?
Well, even like there last week when I was out with Austin Gleeson, you know, it isn't every day like you're rubbing shoulders with Austin Gleeson and sharing jokes with him and you know, Mount Sign, like, I found him to be very welcoming. They said, "Do you want to come up to the clubhouse?" They actually kept me the night and found him to be a very sound club. So I even promised him I'm just go out again before the end of the year for a night out.
Yeah.
So I just go up there as a one of the lads, you know. And I'd often get invites for 21st. Can you come to my 21st and come to my 18th? And whilst you can't go to a lot of them because where do you draw the line? But even to get invited, it's great.
You've had a couple of bad experiences as well. I know there's one incident in Kilkenny. Now, you've had great experiences in Kilkenny too, but you had one negative experience in Kilkenny recently, if you want to explain that one. Yeah,
it was just, I was kicked in the stomach. It was actually a man from your own county I was talking to. And no, it wasn't a Tipperary man.
Okay.
But I was talking to a Tipperary man, and he says, we had a good old chat, and he was mulling a horn. And he says to this guy, "This is Buff Egan," and the guy just came up, kicked me straight in the stomach. And I think, you know, but you tend to forget about that, because my mother said, you forget about the negativity, because like even Ed Sheeran, I think he left Twitter there one of the weeks because he said he was getting abuse. Now, if Ed Sheeran is getting an abuse, everyone's getting it. I mean, he's like a, you know, he does nothing wrong. I think if Mother Teresa now at this stage went on Twitter, if she was alive, or Facebook or Snapchat, you'd always get 5-10% negativity, and I don't even think it's because that 5% tend to be the loudest. You know, and I'm looking out the same guys that are hounding me with the last 3 years. They're the same guys, but they're still there. You said to me, they'd be saying to me, "I hate you, I can't stand you, we'll never go away." But it's a simple answer. I'm a very easy man to quieten, unlike my page, and I won't be annoying you anymore. So they hate you, but yet they're obsessed by you. So I mean, if I hated a page, the last thing I'd be doing it would be Keep following their every post. Now, any post I put up, these same characters appear. So
just with abuse.
Yeah, try to belittle me and whatnot, but yet they hate me, but they won't leave the page. So you'd wonder, it's more of a slur on their character than mine, because you keep coming back. So I think it's a good sign that you've negativity because haters, because it just keeps debate going. Like, because if everyone was saying, we love you, Buff, you're a great character, it gets boring. If some fella says, Buff, you're a bloody idiot, you should be left or near the hurling matches, that gets debate going too. So, to be honest with you, I kind of relish it at this stage,
I've seen you sometimes post some of the negative comments that you get. Some of it's quite abusive. Does it ever get to you? Does it ever get you down? Does it hurt you?
Yeah, it did before, but again, like a lot of people sending their fake accounts. So like you join Snapchat there, and you'd set up a account called Joe Blogs, and you might only add me, and you'd know you were sending it under a fake name, whilst realistically your name could be something else. So, but that's only a cowardly deed. The same person would not send you the same person message on Facebook, because he knows everyone in his parish would say that was a cowardly thing you did to Buff Egan. You're nothing more than an obsolete mule. So they do it behind closed doors with fake accounts and sure. That's just, they're like weasels. I mean, so I tend to forget about them, because if they were real guys, they'd send you. And no guy, like no county hurler has ever sent me anything negative. No top even club hurler. And when we were on side with those guys, you're doing something right.
And the name Buff Egan, it's not your real name. There's a couple of things you want to keep to yourself, which is absolutely understandable. But where did the name Buff come from?
It was actually a wrestler, Buff Bagwell. He was back in the day. I've actually the name Buff now, I think, since I was very small. It was the year 2000. It was very, very small, and he was a guy called Buff Bagwell. He was really a showman. He was in the WCW, so wrestling in America, and he was a real bravado. He'd be shaking his hands and he'd be saying, "I'm Buff, I'm the stuff, and them girls, they can't get enough." And from then on, he was no good at wrestling, but he used to lose most of his fights, but he was funny, like, so Buff Egan, it had a ring to it, so I went from Buff, and at this stage everyone knows me as Buff, so I'll keep it going.
Do people always try and get your real name out of you?
They do, yeah, but we'll keep it secret for now.
Yeah. And you'd have a big interest in wrestling?
Oh, I would, yeah, massive.
Like the WWE?
In fact, I'd say I followed wrestling nearly before I followed hurling, back, it was WWF at the time, and WCW. Even now I'm a huge wrestling fan. I know my brothers be saying to me, "Will you ever stop watching that wrestling's for babies?" But it's not, because if you look at some of the guys watching in America, they're fellas in their 30s or 40s. So if you grow up from, say, 4 and 5 following it, you keep following it. It's like a rake of Irish people watch Fair City. That's not real, it's a soap. But people say to me, "You're following wrestling, that's not real." But Fair City isn't real, Coronation Street isn't real, EastEnders isn't real, and people follow them religiously. They will not miss an episode. So wrestling is a show. It's like for show. It's funny. So I don't see the difference.
It's an entertainment, another form of entertainment.
The likes of EastEnders don't entertain me, so wrestling do.
Yeah. And who would be your favourite wrestler?
I think going back in history, Bret Hart, the Hitman Bret Hart, was a fantastic wrestler. Modern day, I suppose, Randy Orton, the Viper. The fella, they could hit an RKO at anywhere. You'd often wonder, wouldn't you love to see that in a hurling field? Some guy just go. But as well, maybe Ric Flair. He's really a showman as well.
Is that why that's in your phrases? That's one of your phrases.
Yeah, well, he that's what he says. Woo! So 2 claps and Ric Flair woo to be like, we'll say, Tony Kelly scores a point from ridiculous angles. He deserves 2 claps and Ric Flair woo! So that's it. Like, things like that are huge with youth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the youth appeal to the page. Like, if you said something like, Tony Kelly scored a great point there from the sideline, that's not going to appeal to a 14-year-old from Tralee or Cork City. But if you say, Tony Kelly scored an absolutely wonderful point there from way out the field, unreal stuff, and you can't teach that. That young fella said, geez, that's made it a bit more exciting from more than one score, because fellas be messaging me the whole time now, I'm just after scoring a brilliant point below in Cork City against Glen Rovers, and it was absolutely tantalising. So they'd bring things I'd say into it, so it's getting them involved. And as well, I'd cover, say, field and underage hurling. Again, those guys get very little coverage. When would you see under 12, under 14? Even yesterday, I put up about an under 16 game in Galway. When will that under 16 game get national exposure? It won't.
It won't. And do you consciously look at these phrases and think this is adding excitement to it, or did it happen organically? You were just kind of talking the way you will.
Well, I bring some of them in from wrestling, so it livens it up. To be like, the same point could be scored by Lee Chin, but by bringing a bit of bravado into it, it livens it up. So if you were to say, score there by Lee Chin, it doesn't appeal to you. But if you say, it was an absolutely delightful score, or, even the hand movements, or the biggest one at the moment is, and it's gone massive, to be like, say if a team was being wiped out in midfield and they were just had nothing there, you just go, who's in midfield? There's even county hurlers messaging me now. I think Conor Lehan has even messaged me using that saying. So Conor Lehan has used that saying, who's in midfield? And it livens up things. Like, if you have to kind of get away from that's why I said I don't think the GAA appeal to the younger audience, and what I'm doing is appealing to them. So I'm going to, because they're the future, you need to keep those on board, and that's the way I look at it. Get the youth on board, because when that guy is 12, he's going to be following you when he's 22 and he's 32, and his son will follow you. So you're bringing a whole demographic into it, and but there's old people following the page as well. So that young fella could be showing his grandmother, and so you could have one follower on Snapchat, but he could be literally showing 6 people in the house. So you could really say what's following me on Snapchat is far more, because the one person could be showing 5 and 6.
So which phrases are from wrestling, influenced by wrestling, and which of them are just your own?
Well, the drink it in one is big by, it was kind of brought in by Chris Jericho, and but
Y2J.
Yeah, he's but I think I brought another one now. But I think it's actually bigger than drink it in, man. It's soak it in, man. It's, you could say, the atmosphere, everything. So I think that's kind of a marquee one, and I'm thinking bringing out more and more, because there's just a market for them.
And because there's a market for them, and because you've so many followers at this stage, surely you've got to be thinking to commercialise this. T-shirts, Buff Egan Hurleys.
Well, no, I'd be kind of anti-commercial in many ways.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be my style. But I realise too, you have to live. People were saying to me, Buff, you're a great man. You never drank the soup and all this. And I didn't. I any game I've been going to, I pay my own way and whatnot. But there comes a time you have to. But I wouldn't be too commercial, and I don't see myself going down that route. Just maybe but you have to bring certain things into it, because, like, for the scale I'm at now, you basically need camera crews nearly with you and people to back it, because it's gone nearly too big for me now, because I'm getting on Snapchat now, I could get 5,000 messages a day. How am I going to answer 5,000 messages a day? And I hate not answering them, but you can't. So it's nearly gone too big from what I wanted to set up, but you have to go with it now and keep it going, because when you see people message you saying that your page is their only way of, that I have a kind of a connection with the audience that maybe others don't have, and you can't let it go now, because you just have to plough on.
And have you had big offers, like even offers for people to follow you around, like a camera crew, or have you had other sort of offers to come to openings and what have you?
Yeah, I've had offers, but for now, like, I've kind of not really gone down that road. I don't think I'd particularly like a camera crew coming out with me, to be honest. Like, because this page, the Snapchat, I grew it myself. It wasn't a radio station didn't come behind me, a TV station being behind. I created my own page. And so now if a television crew were coming behind me, they'd say, oh sure, he's made him. So that's why I'm slow to do all these interviews. I made the page myself, not any of these big fancy Dan organisations with all these budgets. They have all these budgets, but they still don't have the connection with the normal Joe Soap from Cushendall and Antrim, or Dunloy, or Ballyduff and Kerry. They have the finances, but finances can't get you passion and heart. So I'd be slow to do it.
Yeah. So in terms of that, you wouldn't like a video crew following you, but you must have had a lot of other offers at this point, because your page has gone so big and people think, well, here's a guy who's going to draw attention to whatever it is. Like, we've got a GAA night in our clubhouse where we're opening a new field, whatever it is. Have you had a lot of those offers? Well,
I've been asked to do a few cull camps, but I don't mind doing them, because they're for young followers. It is even difficult to do them, because a lot of them are on the same days, and I mightn't be available and whatnot. But you know, the big corporate events for now, look, I just like to stick to the hurling, and but I'm aware that you can't live in fresh air either, like, you know. But I'll try to like. The reason my page has gone so big, everyone's saying to me, Buff, you should be getting this company on board, you should be getting that company on board. But you get them on board, they tell you what to do. They say, don't insult Clare people, don't insult Wexford people, don't insult... My page has grown because I've been the master of it. I've decided what will go up and when it will go up. Let's say a big company comes on board, they'll say, you can't be saying that, Buff, you've just insulted half a Cork, half a Limerick. But I think that's why this is, because I've controlled what goes up. A company goes up, you're like a puppet to them. And people would see through that. I bet you know if, let's say, from next week on, some big company came on board and I was at every game promoting sausages and rashers and carrots and all sorts of things. Let's say, Buff Egan's lost his soul. He's not in it no more, he's in it for the money. But I'm not in it for the money, because I never set out to be in for the money. I set it out to just for hurling. And that's my aim going forward. No company will ever come in and say, we want you to put this up. I'd have always full control of what goes up.
So you mentioned rashers, sausages and carrots there, which leads me on to a question that everyone wants to know. Why did the cooking with Buff stop? Because it was highly enjoyable. I think you mentioned health and safety, but no, there are so many pages doing food and cooking around the world. Why on earth would yours be stopped?
Yeah, I'm actually mulling over maybe bringing it back.
It was a pretty people loved it.
Even non-hurling people would come up to me. Women in the supermarket would come up to me they had no interest in hurling. Wouldn't watch a game if it was out in their backyard, but they were saying the cooking was huge. So there was a huge demand for it. So a lot of things I cooked were day-to-day things that you or anyone else would cook. You know, they weren't like, say, the cooking channel. They would be doing couscous with Mediterranean sauce. You know, no one's going to cook that, but they might cook a chicken soup or chili con carne or seafood chowder, you know, because they're things Irish people would cook. But keeping it simple, yeah, I possibly could return to it.
Yeah, you did a good bolognese, I'd imagine.
Yeah, but you never know. Buff Egan restaurant down the line, but I don't know. Could I know with all this hurling?
What's your favourite sort of food to make? I
like lasagna. I like steak, good steak.
Do you enjoy the process of cooking? Because you seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I do. I'd eat. I'd cook something nearly every evening, and I like to change it up. Salads. I do a bit of stir fries and things like that. So, no, I like it, but a lot of the time now I haven't time for the cooking, because you go to a match, you could be going to 4 or 5 matches a week, and you're not going to be able to cook them nights. So, it's usually midweek or most of the nights I cook now. So, but yeah, I actually did home economics in school. I remember when I was in first year, there was 25 in my class, and I was the only boy that did home economics. And because 25 was an uneven number, there were 2 in a pair. No one wanted to pair with me because I was the boy. So that was fine with me, because I got to cook everything myself. And so, but in the second year, then a girl came and I had a partner again. But I love cooking, so I actually did a bit of sewing for my junior cert project. I didn't really do it after junior cert, but I loved cooking. Even that's what kind of got into me, because we did baking, scones and whatnot, and that got me a bit of passion into it.
And even just the fact that you'd tailor make a dish for a certain type of player, you'd say, oh, this is for Jamie Barnes, your Podge Collins or whatever. Like, where did that idea come from?
Well, that just came off the cuff, really. I mean, you won't see the guys on the cooking channel mentioning them, because so if you didn't have a cooking, you could say Austin Gleeson would eat that, Tony Kelly would eat that. So that brings non-cooking people into the bit of jizz. You could say, you know, it's all about jizzing it up.
And also even the sewing, you mentioned that. How long did you keep that up for?
The sewing wasn't great. No, I did the pillowcases, and no, it didn't work out. It didn't work out to my perfection. So no, I don't think I had the sewing hands.
So is that down to being a perfectionist? You were like, I'm not.
Yeah, I wasn't good enough to sewing. I didn't have the patience. So I think that drew me back in my junior cert results for the home economics. I think the sewing, my cooking was top class, but the sewing was brought into it too. That brought down my grades a bit.
Are you known for your cooking?
Well, like you said, people always say bring back the cooking. Well, my mother cooks a lot, and I'd cook a lot, so at home, yeah, I'd be known enough for it.
And actually, how do your family feel about the fame you have at this point?
Well, they're not hugely aware of it because they don't really go to matches. My mother, she's not huge into GAA. She works in home help, and locally, like, I wouldn't. So they're not desperately aware of it, even because I was out one day with my mother and father, and a girl came up to me with the window down. She asked for a selfie, and we were driving down the street, and my mother said, "Wow, Jesus Christ, I've never seen that more." But if she went to a match, she'd see it at a sky high level, but they're not hugely aware of it because they don't go to matches.
Yeah, there'd be hundreds of people around you at times, wouldn't there?
Oh, they would, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll talk a little bit more about the story of Buff. We're just at the moment. I spoke earlier with Mick McCarthy, who is the Balls.ie editor, and we had a little chat about the big match of the weekend, which is Clare and Tipperary, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes with Buff.
Right, two massive games this weekend, All-Ireland quarter-finals. Waterford and Wexford, a big game for a lot of people. There's only one game that matters for the two of us in this room, though. Me, a massive Clare fan, despite my accent. Shane, of course, a massive Tip fan. We're going to have a debate. It's called the Hurling Debate. Let's do it. You've got 60 seconds. I've got the stopwatch here. Why are Tip going to beat the Banner on Saturday? Starting now.
Well, when haven't Tip beaten the Banner? It's 2003 since last Clare took down Tipperary in the Championship. And in general, when have Clare last beaten anyone of massive note that have been on form? They haven't beaten Kilkenny since 1997. Right, so Tipperary are the All-Ireland champions, have had a poor run of it, but they look to be coming back a little bit. Absolutely woeful against Westmeath, exceptional against Dublin. I don't think that that Clare are capable of putting up a score like that. I don't think Clare are going to feed their full forward line the way Tipperary feed the old JCB of John McGrath, Seamus Callanan and John Bubbles O'Dwyer. I don't think he'd that scoring threat, and even if he did, I don't think he'd feed them. I saw Clare earlier this year dismantle Kilkenny in a league match, a very weak Kilkenny team, and I saw the half-back line of Conor Cleary and Davy Fitzgerald pinging in a lovely ball for the inside line. They went to town, but I just don't see doing that this time. 10 seconds left. Right, I think Tip, Michael Breen looks like a player transformed. He's now doing a lot of work without the ball when he used to do it just with the ball. Ronan Maher and Pádraig Maher, exceptional players. Tip all the way.
Time's up.
Right,
okay.
Put your money where your mouth is now. Why are Clare going to do it?
I'll tell you why Clare are going to do it. Open the scroll. Am I ready to go?
Go, it's started.
Right, so we might not be playing well. They might be the biggest underachievers in the game, and they might be facing the defending All-Ireland champions, the most talented group in the country, and themselves with a point to prove. But why are Clare going to win? Because it's Tip. Tip of Lahey, Paul Shelley, Nicky English laughing at us, of Babs and Sheedy and Declan Ryan and Lar. It's the Tip of hang sandwiches and flasks of tea, of superiority complexes, of bottle jobs, the Tip who can't defend in All-Ireland, the Tip of infighting and egos and believing their own hype. Why will Clare win? For David Ford of Cork, for Jamesy and Croker, for that Davy penalty, read Conor McGrath, 2017, Stade de Franc's first hero, up the Banner.
You have another 13 seconds.
And I will
run out of juice.
I stuck a little bit fast there, but Clare will win because we owe Tip one. It's been a long time. And that's why.
You're done. Look, that was nonsense. You sounded like Marty Morrissey, Mick Morrissey, Marty McCarthy. That was horrendous. Tell me about stuff on the field. Why are you going to win?
Okay, the reason I did that was because this is more a rivalry game than anything else. At least I'm hoping for it, because Clare and Tip's rivalry needs to be what brings out the best in Clare this week. I hated
Clare when I was a young man.
Yeah, and I hated Tip. Look, we were Killaloe, the border, Michael Breen's from Ballina, it's basically the same town, right? I think this needs to be kind of one of those games. This needs to be Loughnane. I wouldn't give them what time the match is going to be on that type of game, because on current form, I don't see how Clare can win it. There's lots of things that Clare could do better than they've done against Limerick and Cork.
Like pass the ball to each other?
Pass the ball to each other, maybe don't hit like passes over the sideline, use their full forward line properly. Lots of different things that Tony Kelly, Galvin working with each other, you know, getting Kelly into the game more, not just like hitting snapshots every time he catches the ball. All those things are what I'd love to see Clare doing. The problem is, after the Limerick game, I was saying this is all we need to do, and we could be ourselves, and we could, you know, give Cork a real game. But now they've been like that twice. It's harder to see them just turning it on again, and it's a bigger step. Like, Clare haven't played Kilkenny or Tip in the championship in a long time, definitely since I think 2011 was the last time. So this team hasn't played Tip yet, and I feel that Tip's experience, size, everything.
Can we be honest for a second?
Hurling is going to be good enough to be Clare.
Who did Clare beat in the 4 years before the All-Ireland? And did they beat Tipper Kilkenny to win that
Limerick
All-Ireland?
and Dublin, I think, and they were the only two matches that
and
they
they
won.
beat no one since winning the All-Ireland. So
Yeah.
there's nothing to suggest. Like, Clare have potential. We've all seen
They
it.
do have potential. I don't
Obviously,
want to
all those
downspeak
under
them too
21.
much. Yeah.
But when have they proven it? Like, Tip have been up and down for years, but they're generally winning Munster titles, getting to All-Ireland finals. Whichever team wins this, now, their form will be back then.
Yeah.
Because Tip, they're not bulletproof either. But I think if Tip win this, all of a sudden they're very dangerous. Same with Clare, but
Yeah.
I mean, the weight of history suggests Tip.
We did win in All-Ireland though. I'm sick of people talking down that. They
To
beat
back it
what
up.
was in front of them that year and they won the All-Ireland. And look, they still have a chance to back it up. Hopefully they will on Saturday.
Aidan Ryan, the former Tip wing forward from Bursley, my own town, and I asked him about winning the All-Ireland in 1991. They'd won it in 89, beating Antrim, and he said in 1991 we were playing for 2 All-Irelands because no one gave us credit for that. So Clare have to back it up.
Yeah, well, Tip haven't retained the All-Ireland since 1965 and they started off badly again this year. So, you know, that's something that's in their heads, the infighting, all that stuff. That's a real point, even though it was said in the
Supposed
jokey way.
infighting.
Is it? Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, rumour monger.
Right, that's it. That's the
Right,
debate
we're
for
done.
now. That's the debate. Up the banner.
Tip. So that was the debate. We're still here with the Hurling Debate on Balls.ie in association with Centra, who are sponsors of the GAA All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. Buff, you've had a little listen there. We know that you're a big Clare fan. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's a make or break game for Clare. You know, as you said, they haven't backed it up from 2013. So I think if Clare lose Saturday, it's going to seem like it'll be another bad year for Clare. They have to win. Do I think they can win? Oh, I do. Yeah. I think Shane O'Donnell, Conor McGrath. I think they'll do untold. I think there's that Tipperary full back line are vulnerable, and one game last year Clare really broke out. It was against Kilkenny. It was a league semi-final. That day, no team would beat them. Not Tip, not Kilkenny, no one. Galway, no one. And if that Clare turn up, they'll beat Kilkenny. But if the Clare turn up that we saw during the league, they'll be destroyed. So I'm in the hope that Clare turns up, but that Clare hasn't really turned up in 3 years. But if the two teams play in form, I think Clare could beat them.
I'll put it to you like this though. Tip will actually pass the ball into their full forward line, unlike Clare the last day. And also, Clare's defence is a little suspect with the suggestion that David McInerney might be out injured and Cian Dillon coming in, and Tip have that full forward line of John O'Dwyer, Seamus Callanan and John Bubbles O'Dwyer. Can Clare stop it?
Yeah, but Tip, they haven't been that impressive this year. Okay, they steamrolled Dublin, but Westmeath put it up to them. Westmeath were beaten by Kerry this year, so it just shows you that even there's not a huge gap between the Tips and the Westmeaths of this world. Dublin, I thought Dublin weren't at the races at all. Dublin looked at one stage they were going to get back into this game early on after about 15 minutes, but they fell asunder. And can we read too much into that game? I think the Clare backs will be far more ferocious than the Dubs. But you'd worry there if the Bubbles, Seamus Callanan, John McGrath hit form, it'll be tough for Clare to curtail them. But will they hit form? That's the question.
Yeah, because Tip showed killer instinct to put up a massive score against Dublin, and I might suggest that Clare would be less likely to do so.
Yeah, but that being said, they didn't show killer instinct against Cork. They didn't show killer instinct against Galway, so there were two high-profile games that they didn't deliver on. So who's to say that the Dublin performance will be the performance against Clare? And I like to think it'll be somewhere in between them both. And if that's the way, I'd give Clare a great chance.
So call it for us, Buff. Who do you think is going to win this game?
I think Tony Kelly. I think he could have a big influence. I'm going to go Clare to win it by 2 points and sentence Tipperary's championship dreams to deletion. Delete.
Well, there's one other game that's in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Saturday, and we've another game in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Sunday. The new Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Hopefully this time you'll actually be able to fit into your seats, because last time it was an absolute squeeze. So Davy Fitzgerald, a man you seem to have great time for, judging by your Snapchats, he's over this Wexford team. They faded badly against Galway in the Leinster final. Do you think they'll recover against Waterford?
Yeah, they were actually very good in that first half. I think it's going to be very tough to beat Waterford now. You know, massive impressed by him against Kilkenny. You know, Jamie Barron there. For me, he's by far the best midfielder in the country. Tyg de Burke sweeping up everything in defence. It'll probably be a game of sweepers. You know, with Maurice Shanahan maybe to come off the bench as well, and Austin Gleeson. I mean, what a performance he gave against Kilkenny. You know, some of the scores he got were, you know, off the chart. And let's be honest, Gleeson, you know, he's a stallion, man.
Where did this come from? Where's Stallion coming from?
Stallion would be basically a champion horse, but I actually got confused at the start. There was a rumour that a stallion was a castrated horse, but that's actually a gelding. But no, I'd like to confirm a stallion is actually a champion horse. A gelding is a castrated horse. So a lot of people were saying that was it, but no. Austin Gleeson, he'd be like a stallion, champion hurler. So the Seamus Callans, they're all stallions.
And what about Lee Chin, because he's in some nick?
Well, I can't comment. Well, up until now he has been a stallion, but will he be a stallion next Sunday? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, and what about this Wexford attack? Because you've got Conor MacDonald there, Jack Guiney there, guys that can win primary possession and give it through to the pacey guys coming through, like Harry Keogh, Aidan Nolan from midfield, Jack O'Connor. You know, they do have a lot of pace in that team.
Yeah, but I think Waterford are going to squeeze them out of it.
Will it be a battle of sweepers, actually? Because Sean Murphy will play sweeper at one end, and you can imagine that even if Waterford play a bit of a traditional formation, Tyg de Burke will still be sitting in front of Barry
It could
Cochran.
be basically a battle between the two heavyweights, Lee Chin and Gleeson, because you know they're both match winners on their own, and whoever has a field day could win it. Because, to be honest with you, both of them could be worth 3 men when they're at that top level. The way Lee Chin played against Kilkenny, no one could mark him. He caught balls under the sky, did everything. Gleeson, something similar. So if one of them has their day of days, he could win it for their team. So it could be that whichever of those two. But Conor MacDonald, he's a player as well that could do serious damage. He's a quality hurler. But I feel, look, Wexford haven't enough in attack. You know, Waterford are no world beaters in attack either. But I think they'll just get over the line. You know.
Who do you think you can win in All Ireland with a sweeper? Because even when Clare won in 2013, they didn't have a sweeper in the finals. I
think at the minute Galway are far ahead of the rest of the country. I don't think there's a team in the country that beat Galway right now. Yeah. You know, a lot of their games, they're different performers playing well. Conor Cooney, Joe Canning, Manions. You know, these guys, they're different players. They're turning up every week for them, and you know, I couldn't see anyone stop him.
And like you've mentioned the likes of Brian Lohan being your hero growing up. Who of the current hurlers, who do you think is the best hurler out there right now? Who really floats your boat?
It's a tough one. You know, you could say Tony Kelly is a huge one. Austin Gleeson, you know, I have a good time for Gleeson because he's a real down-to-earth guy. You know, he talks to you. He's a fella that has a good time for the fans, and probably one of my favourite at the moment is Gleeson, Tony Kelly, Brendan Bugler. You know, real fired up character. You know, that kind of way. Shane Nolan in Kerry, even up in Antrim, Paul Shields, Liam Watson is a player I've always been kind of fascinated by. You know, he's a player that got you know, what was it, 16 points in All Ireland club semi final, and he got 3-7, 3-9.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was down here, he'd be the best player in Kilkenny.
And he's hurling with Warwickshire now.
Yeah, but my point is, I think potentially if he was with Kilkenny, he could be the TJ Reid. He's that good. I know he's coming towards the twilight of his career now, but as good a player as I've seen was definitely Watson. TJ Reid as well, you know, huge admirer of him. You know, fantastic talent. You know, Richie Hogan, those guys. So yeah, I'd have no shortage of hurling heroes at the minute.
Yeah, so we've been running a competition on Balls.ie to give viewers a chance to win a ticket and sit beside Buff for the Wexford versus Waterford All-Ireland quarter-final. And we were basically getting people to sum up what is your passion in hurling, why should you get to have the seat beside Buff. And the competition winner is Katrina Heffernan. She actually sent this in for the competition for her granddad, which was great. And just to read out her reason why he should get the ticket. I'm entering this on behalf of my granddad, as he isn't much good at Snapchat. This is us from the quarter-final last year. We couldn't afford tickets, and I would love to surprise him with these. He is a Waterford man through and through, and played with Mount Sion up until he moved away to Galway for work. He has instilled a love of hurling in all 7 of his children and 15 grandchildren. He's driven us all over the country for matches and has himself been to 2 All-Ireland finals that Waterford have won, along with the under-20 final last year and the 2 league finals in 2015 and 16. We have a collection of match programmes dating back to Waterford and Kilkenny's first championship game in 1957. I'd love nothing more than to see his face if I told him I managed to nab tickets for this match. So you'd be looking forward to that, Buff.
Well, you said there the under-20 title. It's actually under-21. That was a bad statement by you.
It was a very bad statement by me. Yeah, you have me there. And so there was a runner-up as well, and this was for 2 tickets. There's actually a picture sent in with this person, Rory Cusack, alongside Paul Flynn when he was just 4 years of age, the corner forward from Waterford, Paul Flynn. So he starts it off referencing the photograph, saying, "Myself meeting Paul Flynn when I was 4 years old, which is almost 13 years ago. Have been to every game since, but couldn't get tickets to this game. Brilliant prize, which I can hopefully win, and see the Dacia sentence Wexford to deletion." And then you know how to finish that off, so I'm not even going to attempt to do what you do. So delete, 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 hail, hail. So thanks. And that's Rory Cusack, who's won 2 tickets to the game. So Buff, just to finish off, what is your ambition for this page? Where do you see it going?
Well, like I said, it is kind of skyrocketed since the start of the year, and you know, I just try to do what I'm doing. Everyone says you should do this, you should do that, but what's brought me to the table is doing what I set out to do, and I'll be the controller of it going forward. And look, you can never know what that takes you, but just keep it to hurling. Don't be, you know, venturing out. You know, don't all of a sudden, you know, be just a corporate screw that's doing things just to stand here, stand there. You know, I came to cover hurling, stick to the hurling, and whatever it leads, you know, down the road. How
do you keep your phone charged?
Oh, well, it's a good phone, and like when I'm not on Wi-Fi, I'd have it turned off, and because like Snapchat does eat it, but no, it's all about timing, and you know, it's a good phone. Actually, a brother got it for me in Dubai, so yeah, I'm happy enough with it, and it's doing the job.
And when people are around you at games, do they leave you in peace when you're doing it? Do you get to enjoy the game? Do you actually find you're distracted from the game when you're actually videoing it and commentating?
Well, I actually find that videoing it, you actually see it as good as, because the phone is very good. You actually see it. It's like watching TV. So you zoom it in, and you can actually watch it from the camera. It's pretty as good as watching it live. So it doesn't distract me, no, because I'm watching it nearly from the phone. Like, and I'm not doing Snapchats the whole time. I might only do from there up in the forward line or whatnot. But no, and the people around me, 99% of them are positive and thank you what you're doing. So no, I'm happy enough with it.
And how long can you see yourself going with this? Indefinitely?
Well, I'd imagine so, yeah. I mean, why give up now? You know, I see myself, you know, going forward at a rate of knots.
And do you feel like you get the sort of you know, that people come up to you and give you the sort of gratification that makes it all worthwhile?
Oh yeah, because like there was a stage there one time I was giving it up because I'd kind of grown delusional, and they were saying, "Don't give it up." They'd plead with you, and that would give you great motivation, saying, "Whatever you do, don't give it up." It was like, we rely on you, and people from Japan messaging me, they're living over there, that would know nothing, that you were our only source to keep us updated. So through the bad times, you know, you were talking about the bad insults, but the messages would keep you going, because, you know, they'd warm my heart, and likes of the top hurlers did message, you know, and even the Kerry footballers now, it definitely, you know, that outweighs the negativity, because the guys give you the negativity, they're still there, they're still following, you know, and so it's more of a bad sign of them than anything else.
Well, I think I speak for tens of thousands of people when I say, make sure you keep the page going, keep up the good work, and I think pretty much people across the country and Irish people across the world appreciate what you're doing. So yeah, definitely keep that going, Bob.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So that's it for episode 4 of the Hurling Debate here on Balls.ie, sponsored by Centra, who are sponsors of the GAA All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. So that's it. Give them lots of timber until next time. There's plenty of it on the sideline.